and welcome to Market Insights. It's a beautiful day and I'm happy to be here as we discuss the latest developments in our economy. I am Lovina Emma. On today's show, we will focus on the Central Bank of Nigeria's Cyber Security Levy and its implications for Nigeria's digital economy. Now, I know what you're thinking, another levy again. But trust me, I get it. I mean, we're all really tired of the way the economy is right now. And I understand it. Everybody is complaining. And what we need right now is some relief, not another tax levy. But let's take a step back and understand why this is a big deal. Now, let's think about it. In today's world, for example, now everything is digital, from banking to shopping, even chatting with friends. We are constantly online. But with this digital convenience comes a huge risk. And that risk is cyber attacks. Now, hackers can steal your money, they can ruin your credit, and even disrupt essential services. And that's a scary thought, right? We wouldn't want everything we've worked so hard for to just change within a few minutes. I mean, that's how fast these hackers can get into your account and start stealing all your funds, especially what you've saved over years. So what does this levy really mean for Nigeria's growing digital economy? Now, let me break it down. The levy is mandated by the Cybercrime Act of 2015, and it was amended in 2024 to bolster cybersecurity measures in Nigeria. The funds collected will be credited into a fund established by the Central Bank of Nigeria to support cybersecurity initiatives. Now, that's where this levy comes in. So, to explain further, the idea is to use the money collected to beef up Nigeria's cybersecurity defenses. And that's quite a good thing, if you ask me. But imagine having better firewalls, more skilled professionals, and a system that can detect and stop attacks before they happen. Now, that sounds like a very good investment, doesn't it? So what are the implications for businesses and consumers? Now, that would lead to increased costs for businesses. I mean, this levy will undoubtedly increase the cost of doing business in Nigeria, potentially affecting profit margins. That's one. Two, for the consumer, with the levy, consumers may face higher transaction fees, which could reduce their appetite for electronic transactions. And finally, compliance and challenges with this new regulation. Now, for small and medium-sized businesses, they may struggle to comply with the new regulations, potentially facing penalties or fines. In addition, critics have also argued that this is another way to squeeze money out of Nigerians. I mean, that's the opinion of people who constantly criticize what the government does. And others say it might also stifle innovation and also discourage businesses from operating in Nigeria. So what do you think? Is this a necessary evil, or is this a misguided attempt to solve a problem? So we're going to discuss these issues and more with an expert who will join us after the break. Thank you for watching the program. Now we have a guest who is joining us live from United Kingdom. He's joining us virtually from the United Kingdom, and his name is Husseini Musa. He's a digital technology construction manager specialist, and Mr. Musa is also fueled by the passion for transforming the construction industry through advanced technologies and innovative methodologies. He has 10 years experience and a deep expertise in artificial intelligence, advanced data analytics, BIM, that's building information modeling, and sustainable building practices. He is also dedicated to bringing organizations to unlock the full potentials of digital tools to optimize project efficiency and reduce costs. And also, Mr. Husseini his notable accomplishments are his leadership in the development of proprietary AI model for cost prediction, which has improved estimation accuracy in construction projects. He also pioneered the use of machine learning algorithms and advanced data analytics and BIM tools to reduce manual errors and streamline project workflows. So welcome to Market Insights, Mr. Musa Husseini.
Great.
I'm glad you're joining us on the program this morning. And how's everything in the United Kingdom this morning?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, good to hear. Okay, so we are discussing the Central Bank of Nigeria's cybersecurity levy and the implications for Nigeria's digital economy. Now, as you know, back in May, a few months ago, the CBN announced that there was going to be a cybersecurity levy and it was going to be 0.5% for all electronic transfers. And as usual, we do need some relief in our economy right now. So Nigerians were not so happy. And because of this, when the initial announcement came out, it faced some backlash. But right now, a few months later, this September, it was also reintroduced, and it was introduced at the cost of 0.005%. That's the new cost for every electronic transfer. Now, do you really think that, looking at our cybersecurity situation in Nigeria, do we really think this levy is coming at the right time right now?
Cyber security levy, it's an essential to mitigate against these threats of cyber crime and attack that is being experienced in the digital technological sector. And of course, with advancements in technology, technology is a key driver for these essential sectors of the Nigerian economy, such as the finance, defense, and other allied and related services. However, with this potential threat that comes with cyber attack and all of this risk associated, it is also essential to provide the necessary infrastructure to mitigate against these threats. In terms of timing, well, at the moment, the country is currently experiencing the effect of some of the fiscal policies that were introduced at the beginning of this current administration, such as the removal of fuel subsidy and also the decentralization of the foreign exchange market, which has led to a significant sharp increase in price of materials, cost of living, and also lower standard of living for the populace. It is essential to have a government cyber security fund. This will help the government to allocate resources in championing this drive towards protecting our data assets and also upgrading our existing cyber security measures in line with current evolving technologies. It is very essential. However, with the current situation in the country and this reduction in the levy, to an extent, is going to cause it's going to bring a sigh of relief for businesses and the citizens compared to the previous rate of 0.5%. You can imagine maybe you are trying to do a transaction through electronic means of maybe 100K and you're having to spend 5,000 additional charge on that. But now that has been significantly reduced to about, say, 50 naira thereabout on a 100K transaction. So it's a good move from the government. I believe they must have gone back to the drawing board, reassess the policy that they had introduced previously, and see how the impact of this affects the drive towards transitioning the economy into a cashless one, and also create that robust infrastructure for the government cyber security systems.
Okay, yes, that's very key, actually, creating a very robust infrastructure. But before we talk about that, now, what are the potential economic benefits of this cybersecurity levy?
The economic benefits, you can look at it from a different range of thoughts. Firstly, it's also a form of revenue for the government. These revenues can be channeled into measures to mitigate against these cyber attacks. We understand that digital literacy is still very low in the country, and the number of highly skilled professionals that know how to that have the technical know-how is still really, really low. So these funds can go a long way in creating some form of education and trainings for more people to be upskilled in the area of digital literacy. Also, these funds could also go into um, providing the necessary infrastructure that's in line with current industry and technological requirements to boost the companies and the country's security system. Then also in terms of awareness as well, in remote locations in Nigeria, for instance, not so many people have access to electronic and other digital services as a result of poor telecommunication network, poor infrastructure, or limited access to some of these services. Some of these funds could go into the development of these infrastructures in remote locations. If you take out big cities like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, there's still a larger part of the country that is still way behind as regards digital penetration and technological advancement. So these government funds that is being received through the levies, the cybersecurity levies, can go a long way in addressing some of these issues that I've raised.
Yes, you mentioned these benefits, yes, but do you really think that, the purpose of this, we know we all have, most people who have bank accounts now, they have bank accounts, they're also given the right to also transfer money or any electronic transfers, whether it's using the bank app or via the internet now. Now, the whole purpose of the cybersecurity levy is that these funds are generated and given to CBN to be able to get the necessary requirements and the infrastructure to put together a cybersecurity infrastructure that can protect people when they are doing their transactions online. But don't you think that these funds will be better used if it's directly with the bank handling this as opposed to the Central Bank of Nigeria handling this? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, the recovery of these levies um, from the CBN fiscal policy documents, the collection of these, the revenues from these levies through the financial institution. And however, one may want to question why the government is so concerned about taxing its citizens. In some other countries, like the United Kingdom, for instance, this funding could also be gotten through the financial institution or the service providers as a way of maybe penalties. I'll cite an example. There is a telecom company in the UK in recent time that was fined about almost 17 million pounds, and these were as a result of failure to connect about 14,000 phone calls through emergency services for its citizens. Its citizens tried to use their own network to reach out to emergency services, but they were failures. So as a result, these service providers they had not fulfilled their own obligation, and it was form of a letdown. So before the government look into taxing its citizens through levies, sometimes we need to look at the service providers, that is the financial institution and other associated services that are involved in providing these services on behalf of their government, of the government. What is their responsibility to the people? What is their responsibility to the government? And from these funds through penalties or charges that is being gotten from this institution, this can also contribute towards the cyber security fund, in addition to, or as an alternative to the levy that has been enacted by the federal government. However, with this reduction in levy, this has also reduced the revenue that government had proposed initially from the 0.5%. So government need to also look at other alternative streams through which they can increase revenue for the cyber security fund, and not just relying alone on the cyber security levy to fund this initiative.
Okay, so what other alternative way would you suggest the government should look out for how to generate revenue as opposed to just taxing or levying the citizens?
Like I mentioned, a proposed fine or penalty charges for on the part of the financial institution, not just for compliance on for not just on non-compliance on the levy remittances, but also in their service delivery to the nation. You can bear me witness that telecommunication services, financial services that is being offered by this company is not in line with global standard yet. This is 2024, and you do maybe an intra electronic transfer, and it takes minutes or hours before the recipient receives this money. And I feel like we are not there yet. The necessary infrastructure are in place, but we just need the government to um, be on top of things with these service providers, and not just looking at generating revenue through levies on the citizens. Because for a typical organization that provides IT services, you already have company income tax, you have VAT, withholding tax. Now also adding a cybersecurity tax on electronic transfer, it's also an additional burdens on some of these businesses, and this will also discourage the government's drive to transition to a more cashless economy. So I believe the government needs to be on top of things with the financial institutions. Where there are non-compliance, the appropriate fines and sanctions in form of monetary terms should be properly administered to be able to recover some of these funds for the cyber security initiative.
Okay, yes, there was something that you mentioned. Now, do you think this initiative, having been reintroduced and making the fee 0.005%, do you think this would discourage innovation and investment in Nigeria's digital economy?
Well, we can look at it from two sides. From the positive side of things, investors will see this as a government's commitment towards battling cybercrime. We've had cases where some companies have lost money as a result of no regulatory policy against cybercrime in Nigeria. But some will see this as an opportunity that the government is really keen and interested in fortifying this industry. And as a result, there must be that strategic partnership and stakeholder engagement between the government and the private sector. Governments expressing and showing their commitment towards innovation, and also showing that willingness that the fight against cybercrime is of top priority. But on the downside, for organizations that are struggling with the current economic climate, they will see this as an additional expense or financial burden on the back of the existing running costs they are already running in their organization. profit margin at for most of these organizations at an all-time low. Most companies are just struggling to survive, pay salaries, and run their overheads, So this could be the end for some business, and this could also be an opportunity for some. But holistically, in the long term, I would see this as an opportunity um, that should strengthen the digital sector economy of the Nigerian government.
Okay, I like that. Yes, looking on the bright side of this, yes, this can definitely strengthen our digital economy. Now, let's talk about the rural areas now. Do you think this levy might impact the adoption of digital financial services in the rural areas in Nigeria?
Yes, this is going to impact the rural communities to a great extent. Most people in rural communities depend on electronic money transfer to receive funds from their loved ones or whoever is sending um, monies to them. Um, Access to physical banks in these rural communities are limited, and with the extra or additional levies being introduced by governments, this will further reduce the value of money that is being um, available or assessed by these people. So in the long run or in the shorter term too, the impact is going to be huge. Technological innovation in those communities will be very, very stunted compared to what it was previously. And most people in this community will resort to alternative means of money exchange through maybe cash. And I see that check form of cash disbursement is also exempted from this policy as well. So would this will also put pressure on some banks, because people want to go for the most cheaper, maybe not effective, but cheaper alternative of receiving or getting value for money. So you would see a significant number of people opting for some of these cheaper alternatives, and that could spell some form of challenges for banks. You have more people coming to banks trying to cash out checks, receive checks, and all of those things. You now have to start printing. The cost of printing of these checks then increases, then you see people, then this drive, this transition into digital or electronic transfer would then be impacted greatly, because you see people walking away from that form to go into our old ways of money exchange, which doesn't signal a good transition for the industry.
Yes, yes, well, we would not want to go back. So I'm quite sure. But as a digital technology expert, what would you recommend as to how the government can go about this, especially in the rural communities?
There must be strategic consultations with all stakeholders involved. That is the government from the federal level up until the state and the local government. There should be constant touch base and discussions between these people and the private sectors as well. Um, for the private sectors to come in to establish technology and infrastructure in these communities, you also need to consider security and bring in expatriate, highly skilled workforce to come and work in rural communities. Where is the confidence for someone maybe living in Lagos, or maybe someone coming from abroad, to go to maybe a rural community for a couple of days or months to implement all of these technology solution? So security is of concern, and one of ways to mitigate this is through stakeholder engagement. There must be that government partnership with the organized private sector on how and the objectives on how they want to go about implementing this technological adoption in rural communities. I've touched based on security, then also education and training slash awareness to in rural communities. You need the people to understand the benefits of what this innovation will do for them, how it's going to contribute positively and impact significantly in their life, in their way of living, and all of that. These are key measures that the government needs to also consider. I did mention earlier about digital literacy. It's still very low in Nigeria, especially in the rural communities. But with a lot of people with access to mobile phone, mobile network, and internet services, I believe adopting some form of awareness or campaign shouldn't be much of a challenge for the government, because to an extent these people have access to information as well, aside just the internet too. There are other means of transmitting this information. You have the other media channels like the television, the radios, where people need to stay updated on the government's plans on how they need to um, provide this technology in these communities. They're not just providing this infrastructure in this community. There's also a need for sustainability as well. We've had cases where you provide an infrastructure, maybe fiber optic cable in a community, and you have cases of vandalism and all of those things. What are the efforts that are being put in place to mitigate against some of these things? And these are some of the things that have discouraged foreign direct investments in those locations. And you see that most of these investments are just targeted to just the urban areas like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. So there's that need for collaboration between the private sector and the government. The government share their plans, their initiative and objective on how they want to carry out these plans. And with the support of the private sector, I believe this can be actualized.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Musa. Now, looking at this whole thing, they said these funds are going to be generated. They stated how the funds will be generated as the CBN has reintroduced this levy. Now, I just want to get your thoughts on this. Now, how will the effectiveness of the cybersecurity measures be implemented, and how are we going to be able to see some level of transparency with this? I just want to get your thoughts on this situation.
Transparency and accountability has been a major issue with the previous governments of the Federation and even down to the present government. How these monies is to be disbursed or utilized is yet. I've not seen any paper or any document or policy document from the government that says, okay, the money, the recoverables from these funds, this is how it's going to contribute towards this initiative. So there must be an establishment of a clear path on how these monies are to be utilized. Then also, there must also be a compliance system in place for monitoring how these monies will also be utilized. If, for instance, you said a certain percentage of the government said a certain percentage of the funds has been allocated towards maybe digital awareness, what metrics are we using to measure that? There must be measurable terms for some of these initiatives that the government has for these funds. And this will also help in boosting the reputation of the government locally and globally as well. And also it will also boost investor confidence because you know that the levies that is being recovered or that is being imposed by governments on this electronic transfer is utilized effectively. And this will also give the citizens confidence that, yes, what they are actually paying for, they are getting value for it. So that transparency and accountability is very key. It will help the integrity of this current administration of the government. Um, like we've had cases where subsidy removal, the proceeds from it, how has the government been accountable for some of these funds that has been saved or recovered from those policies they've introduced. So this is another policy that has also been introduced. The government now need to demonstrate their commitment to how they want to utilize these funds effectively.
Now, do you think this new introduction of this levy will lead to, do you think it will lead to increased employment or unemployment in some certain sectors of our economy?
I believe this will open opportunities for people in the digital technological sector um, because with these funds, the utilization of these funds will be used to train more people, I believe, and this will further grow the number of representation of professionals we have in this industry. The industry is still very, very, very low in terms of competent professionals that can carry out some of these digital and technological competence required to assist the government in battling cybercrime. So there will be opportunities, no doubt, for more people to come in, get jobs, and also for businesses as well. I touched based on collaboration with private sectors. You also have more involvement. In recent years, we've had fintech companies spring up, and many more are still coming up because money exchange is a critical sector of the Nigerian economy. And in the last couple of years, we've seen so many um, fintech company come into the industry, and this has also provided jobs for people in the industry, not just only technical roles as well. Non-technical roles are also areas that opportunities like this are provided as well. Because I mean, any company in the digital space not just have employees that are technically sound, they also have people with administrative background and other skill required for the successful running of the business. So I believe this is an opportunity for some businesses and some Nigerian citizens to secure roles as well.
Going to see an increased participation of more IT professionals in with the introduction of this levy. Okay, that's something very good.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about the impact of this levy on Nigeria's digital economy now. How would this affect Nigeria's growing fintech industry?
Um, at the moment, the impact will be immense. I say this because there are existing um, financial burdens that Nigerians and Nigerian businesses are currently suffering from. Um, at the moment, the cost of operating business is quite high. Um, there's no power. You have most businesses run on generator, and the cost of petroleum product has increased significantly in the past couple of months. So with the addition of this as well, this is an additional cost to the cost of operating business. So the impact on business is going to be felt greatly, especially immediately. However, with this reduction in the levy from 0.5 to 0.05. At least this has further lessened the burden to a considerable extent. But that's not to say that 0.05% is not an additional cost to an existing business incurred expense. So the impact will be felt. Then also, you also look at people in the rural communities, as earlier mentioned too. Um, they would they would look for a more cheaper alternative for exchanging or transferring money, which will impact our transition to a more technological driven industry. Most people will opt for a cheaper alternative like cash exchange, the use of checks, payments, and other forms as against the use of electronic money transfer. So that would also impact businesses and the rural communities as well, because businesses that thrive and depend on electronic money exchange may not get as much volume of transaction through those channels as it was previously, as people would seek alternative means. Then also, we also need to look at the the government's commitment towards driving the economy from a cashless based economy to a more electronic, digitized one. More recently, in 2023, we saw the effect of the CBN policy in the build up to the 2024 general election, where a lot of Nigerians were cash strapped. For the most part of 2023, a lot of people struggled with to have access to cash as a result of the CBN policy to curb fraud during the course of the 2024 election. And we are saying we could potentially see a repeat of such occurrence, because when people decide not to use electronic channels anymore and want to opt for other channels, and on the back of what was experienced last year, it still shows that there's still a huge gap in the Nigerian financial technological sector, and these areas will be impacted as well. So I believe these are my thoughts around the impact of these decisions on the economy at large.
Okay, okay, yes. So I also believe that there needs to be more enlightenment, more education, like you mentioned, also more awareness of the benefits of transactions online. Like we are trying to move to a more cashless society in this country. So yes, okay. Now, the implications. What else do you think? How will this affect e-commerce, and also let's just start with this first. How will this affect e-commerce in Nigeria first of all?
The e-commerce market segment of the Nigerian economy has been one of the key sector of the digitized industry. We've seen people's lifestyle and preference for purchases has changed considerably in the last couple of years. A lot of people have started opting for a more enhanced way of purchase of materials or personal commodities through various online e-commerce platforms. Now, with this policy in place, this will affect a lot of people's appetites for e-commerce channels of procurement in a way. With the additional charge that comes with this, most citizens or those who have preference for e-commerce would want to opt for maybe something alternative, or go back to our traditional way of procurement by doing physical stuff. Then in terms of revenue too, there could be a potential decrease in revenue from some of these e-commerce channel as a result of low transactional volume being experienced. However, with some of these challenges comes potentials um, for growth as well. Like I mentioned, the impact of this policy will be felt greatly at in the short run, but we should also consider the long-term impact of some of these policy. It is essential that the cybersecurity um, industry is well funded and protected because most of our data protection, most of our information, most of these critical sectors of the Nigerian economy, they utilize technological driven products, and it is essential that they are protected against these cyber attacks or cyber crime. Cyber fraud or cyber crime is one of the greatest fraud in that is currently being experienced, and with the Nigerian economy as
Can I just ask you this
yeah,
now? Please, sorry to interrupt you there.
yeah.
Now, looking at the Nigerian scenario, yes, you've mentioned the benefits of this. Now, do you also looking at globally the world? I mean, you live in United Kingdom now. How does this Nigerian cybersecurity levy compare to similar initiatives, whether in Europe or in North America? I want to comment on this.
Well, this initiative compared to other advanced countries is quite different. Like I mentioned previously, the ways this is being funded by other countries could most of their funding as could be from penalty charges through poor deliveries from some of these service providers to the government, and which will also boost revenue for the government at the same time. Then also not just boosting revenue to, it's also an avenue to um, enhance the effectiveness of the industry. One thing that's been the challenge of our industry is complacency. A lot of these service providers, they get away with things, you know, and the service they render to the people and the government, no one is holding them accountable. So some of these funds might be that may be realized from this cybersecurity fund, not just having this fund, how this fund is being utilized effectively is really, really key for the industry. And that would also help in transitioning this country to a more digitized um, economy. And also, like we're comparing with other advanced nations, they have put in robust system and measures in place to mitigate against all of these things. That's not to say cybercrime do not exist. They exist, but to an extent, it is being managed to the best of their ability based on some of the systems and policies they've placed to mitigate against this cyber risk.
Okay. Now, do you think this levy will enhance Nigeria's attractiveness as a destination for foreign investments?
Well, yes, potentially. Um, like I said, if the strategies and objectives that the government have put in place in for this industry and for the funds is being effectively managed, monitored, and utilized. This will attract foreign investment. Um, it shows the government commitment to beefing up the artillery of the digital sector of the economy. And you know that your data is being protected. It gives that level of assurance for businesses that they can do business without suffering any risk as a result of cyber crime and all of those things. So potentially it's a good opportunity that could bring foreign direct investment and attract investors into the sector.
Okay, okay, well said. Okay, so before we round up the program now, okay, now how do you think, looking at the future of this right now, how can this cyber security levy impact Nigeria's competitiveness in the global stage?
There's potential for this to position us as one of the forefront of technology-driven economies of the world. Um, by putting some of these system in place and measures, it shows that the economy, the digital economy is thriving. Then the risk and other measures that the government has put in place would also um, unlock a much more innovative and digital future of the nation. Um, with advancements in technology and with evolving technology, it's going to position us as one of those countries that are compliant with evolving technology. Our infrastructure are in line with the best standards and can compete with other advanced country once some of the measures that we've put in place are properly administered. I believe this will position the country into a new era of digital 4.0 where payment processes will be seamless. Um, the risk of losing money through digital channels will be very minimal. Um, ease of doing business across digital platform will be very, very effective. So I believe this is an opportunity that should eclipse the nation into a new innovative and digital era for our economy.
Many thanks for joining us this morning on Market Insights, Mr. Musa Husseini, as you've shared your insights into this discussion on CBN Cyber Security levy and its impact on Nigeria's digital economy. It was great having you on the program, and we do hope you can join us again on Market Insights. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now let's look at the money markets this morning, how our foreign currencies are faring and also the Naira. So we're looking at the Central Bank of Nigeria rates and the parallel markets rates. So for this morning, Wednesday, 25th September, the dollar is currently selling at the CBN rates for 1,676 Naira to $1, and the parallel market is selling for 1,616 Naira to $1. That's for the dollar. And the Central Bank of Nigeria rate is higher than the parallel market rates. Now let's look at the pound sterling. For the pound sterling, is currently selling at 2,143 Naira for the CBN rate. At the parallel market rate is selling at 2,186 Naira. And for the euro, it's currently selling at 1,795 Naira. That's the CBN rate. And for the euro, at the parallel market rate, it is selling at 1,828 Naira. So those are our money market figures this morning. And the Central Bank of Nigeria rates are lower than the parallel market rates this morning. Many thanks for watching the program Market Insights as we discuss the implications of the CBN Cyber Security levy on our digital economy. And I also want to thank my guest, Mr. Husseini Musa, for joining us this morning. And as he mentioned, if we're going to start off with this, it shouldn't be to exploit the citizens of the country. And in the long term, we need to find out more ways to promote or to fund our cybersecurity industry to protect citizens when they're doing their transactions online. And there should be more education and awareness for people living in the rural communities. Thank you so much for watching the program Market Insights. Do share your comments on our social media platforms. We want to hear what you have to say about these discussions. Thank you for watching the program. Do stay tuned to the news update on SOUQ News Television. I am your host, Lovina Emma.